Have you ever been told you're not good enough? That you don't have what it takes? Imagine watching your child's dreams get crushed by someone who couldn't see their potential. That's exactly what happened to my son. But wait until you hear what happened when he sent them his Forbes article 2 years later. Stay until the end to discover how rejection became the fuel for his greatest success. Welcome to Plot Twist Life, where we share stories that prove life's rejections are often redirections to something greater. I'm sharing this story today because what happened to my son could change how you view the obstacles in your path. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that will help you transform setbacks into comebacks. Hit that subscribe button now to join our community of resilience. It was a crisp autumn morning when my son James received the letter. For months, he had been working toward this moment, perfecting his application for the prestigious Weston Fellowship, a scholarship that would fully fund his education at one of the top business schools in the country. As he sat at our kitchen table, the envelope trembling slightly in his hands, I could see the hope in his eyes. His entire future seemed to hang in the balance of that single piece of paper. When he finally opened it, the excitement drained from his face, replaced by a look I'll never forget, a mixture of shock, disappointment, and humiliation. "They rejected me," he said quietly, sliding the letter across the table. I picked it up and read the cold, formal language. "After careful consideration of your application, we regret to inform you that you have not been selected for the Weston Fellowship. The selection committee found that your entrepreneurial experience and business acumen did not meet our rigorous standards. Double quotes. My heart broke for him. For 3 years, James had been building a small tech startup from our garage while maintaining perfect grades. He'd sacrificed parties, spring breaks, even sleep hall for this opportunity. The rejection wasn't just a no. It was a statement that all his hard work wasn't good enough. That night, I found him sitting alone in the dark of his bedroom, staring at his computer screen. "Maybe they're right," he said without looking up. "Maybe I don't have what it takes." As a parent, those words cut deeper than any knife. I wanted to march down to that scholarship committee and show them every late night he'd worked, every brilliant idea he'd brought to life, every obstacle he'd overcome. But I knew this was his journey. "What are you going to do now?" I asked. He closed his laptop and looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. "I don't know. I just don't have the money for business school without that scholarship. We weren't a wealthy family. My job as a high school teacher provided enough for us to live comfortably, but not enough to afford the kind of education James dreamed of. His father had left years ago, leaving behind nothing but empty promises and unpaid bills. The scholarship had been our only hope. You have 2 choices," I told him. "You can believe what that letter says about you, or you can prove them wrong." The next morning, James woke up early. I found him at the kitchen table again, but this time his laptop was open, and he was typing furiously. "I'm pivoting," he said simply. "If I can't go to business school now, I'll build something so successful they'll be begging me to come speak at their school someday." I smiled, recognizing the determination that had gotten him through so many challenges before. That determination was his superpower, the ability to transform rejection into rocket fuel. What James did next amazed even me. Instead of wallowing in disappointment, he doubled down on his startup. He moved operations from our garage to a tiny office space he rented with 3 months' savings. He worked 16-hour days, refining his product, a platform that connected small businesses with freelance talent in real time. I worried about him, of course. Sometimes he would come home long after midnight, exhausted but exhilarated by some breakthrough. Other times, I'd find him passed out on the couch, still in yesterday's clothes, his laptop balanced precariously on his chest. "You need to take care of yourself," I'd tell him. "I'm fine, Mom," he'd always reply. "I'm just getting started." 6 months after the rejection letter, disaster struck. James's main investor pulled out, citing concerns about the market. In one phone call, he lost 60% of his operating capital. When he called to tell me the news, I expected defeat in his voice. Instead, I heard something else: resolve. "This is actually good," he said, shocking me. "Now I can restructure the company exactly how I want to." "But what about the money?" I asked. "I'll figure it out," he said. "I always do." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the scholarship committee's words. "Your entrepreneurial experience and business acumen did not meet our rigorous standards." If only they could see him now, turning catastrophe into opportunity. But they couldn't see him. And sometimes, I wondered if James was pushing himself so hard just to prove them wrong. Was this healthy? Was his determination bordering on obsession? The following weeks were the hardest. James moved back home to cut costs. Our garage became his office again. He sold his car and started taking the bus. He cut every unnecessary expense and poured everything back into the business. I remember one particularly difficult night when I found him sitting on the back porch, staring up at the stars. It was nearly 3 a.m. "Can't sleep?" I asked, sitting beside him. "Just thinking," he replied. "About what?" He was quiet for a long moment. "About failure," he finally said. "What if they were right about me? What if I don't have what it takes?" It was the first crack I'd seen in his armor since the rejection letter. The vulnerability in his voice made him sound young again, like the little boy who used to come to me with skinned knees and broken toys, trusting I could fix anything. But I couldn't fix this, and perhaps I shouldn't try. "Maybe they were right," I said, surprising both of us. "Maybe you didn't have what it takes then. But that was then. Every day since, you've been building what it takes." He looked at me, really looked at me, for what felt like the first time in months. "The question isn't whether they were right when they rejected you," I continued. "The question is whether you'll prove them wrong now." Something shifted in him that night. The next morning, he approached his work differently, not with the frantic energy of someone trying to outrun failure, but with the steady purpose of someone building toward success. He started reaching out to small businesses in our community, offering his platform for free to gather feedback and testimonials. He refined his product based on real user experiences. He networked tirelessly, attending every local business event and startup meet he could find. Slowly, things began to turn around. A small business owner who loved his platform introduced James to a new investor. The investment wasn't huge, but it was enough to keep the lights on. More importantly, it was validation that someone believed in his vision. 1 year after the rejection letter, James's company hit a milestone: 1,000 active users. Most were small businesses who paid a modest monthly fee, but they were loyal and vocal about how his platform had transformed their operations. The local business journal ran a small feature on his company. It wasn't Forbes, but seeing his name in print gave him a new level of credibility. More users signed up. Another investor came on board. Then came the moment that changed everything. James had been invited to speak at a regional tech conference. Nothing glamorous, just a panel discussion on bootstrapping startups. But sitting in the audience was a reporter from TechCrunch who was intrigued by James's story and the unique approach of his platform. 2 weeks later, TechCrunch published an article featuring James and his company. The headline read, "College Dropout Builds $1 Million Platform That's Revolutionizing How Small Businesses Operate." The article went viral within the tech community. Overnight, user signups tripled. Investors started calling, and then, the email that James had been secretly hoping for arrived: an interview request from Forbes. When he showed me the email, his hands were shaken, not from fear this time, but from vindication. "They want to feature me in their 30 Under 30 series," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Forbes, Mom, Forbes." I hugged him tightly, feeling the weight of the past 18 months, all the doubt, all the struggle, all the late nights and early mornings lift from his shoulders. "They were wrong about you," I whispered. "They were so wrong." The Forbes interview was scheduled for the following week. James prepared meticulously, not just rehearsing answers but reflecting deeply on his journey. He wanted to be honest about the struggles, the failures, and the moments of doubt. When the interviewer asked what motivated him to start his company, James could have mentioned the rejection letter. He could have framed his entire story as a revenge success to classic "I'll show them" narrative. Instead, he said something that made me prouder than any achievement or accolade ever could. "I started this company because I saw a problem that needed solving. Small businesses need access to quality talent without breaking the bank. Every decision I've made has been in service of that mission. The setbacks along the way, and there were many, just helped me refine the solution." He wasn't defining himself by the rejection anymore. He had transcended it. The Forbes article was published on a Tuesday morning. "Meet the young entrepreneur transforming the gig economy for small businesses" was the headline. The article detailed James's journey, his innovative platform, and his vision for the future. It highlighted how he had bootstrapped his way to success and turned down acquisition offers from larger companies to maintain his commitment to small business owners. The day the article went live, James's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Congratulatory messages poured in. New partnership opportunities emerged. A venture capital firm offered funding that would value his company at 8 figures. But amid all the excitement, James took a moment to do something he'd been planning for 18 months. He opened his email and composed a new message. The recipient, the Weston Fellowship Committee. He didn't write a long, vindictive letter. He didn't gloat or criticize. Instead, he wrote just one line. "I thought you might be interested in this." Below it, he pasted the link to the Forbes article. Then, he added a postscript. "Thank you for the rejection. It was the best thing that ever happened to me." He showed me the email before sending it. "Is this petty?" he asked. I read it over and smiled. "It's perfect," I said. "It's not about revenge, it's about closure." 2 days later, he received a response from the head of the committee. "Dear James, I read the Forbes article with great interest. Your accomplishments are truly remarkable. While I stand by our committee's decision based on the information we had at the time, I can't help but admire how you've transformed that rejection into extraordinary success. We would be honored if you would consider speaking to our current scholarship recipients about resilience and entrepreneurship. Sincerely, Dr. William Morton, Chair, Weston Fellowship Committee." When James showed me the email, we both burst out laughing. "Are you going to do it?" I asked. He thought for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, but not to show off or to make them feel bad. I'll do it for the students who are sitting where I was 2 years ago. The ones who might get rejected and need to hear that it's not the end of their story." And that's exactly what he did. 3 months later, James stood in the auditorium of the very business school he had once desperately wanted to attend. But he wasn't there as a student. He was there as a success story, a teacher, a living example of what's possible when rejection becomes redirection. As I sat in the back of that auditorium, watching my son captivate an audience of ambitious young people, I couldn't help but reflect on our journey. The rejection letter that had once seemed like the end of his dreams had actually been the beginning of something far greater than either of us could have imagined. James concluded his speech with words I'll never forget. "The most valuable business lesson I've learned isn't found in any textbook. It's this: rejection is just someone's opinion, not your destiny. Thank you, Weston Fellowship, for the opinion that helped me find my destiny." The audience erupted in applause. The committee members looked both humbled and impressed, and I sat there with tears streaming down my face, overcome with pride for the man my son had become. That's the thing about life's biggest disappointments, they often lead to our greatest opportunities. When doors slam in your face, it's not the universe telling you to give up, it's the universe redirecting you to the path you were actually meant to take. So if you're facing rejection right now, if someone has told you that you're not good enough, that your dreams are too big, that you don't have what it takes, remember my son's story. Remember that rejection is not a reflection of your worth or your potential. It's simply a redirection. And sometimes, that redirection leads to places far more wonderful than you ever dared to dream. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear about a time when rejection led you to something better. Share your experience in the comments below. And if you want more stories that show how life's plot twists often lead to the most beautiful destinations, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Hit that subscribe button now. turn on notifications, and join our community of people who refuse to let rejection define their worth. Remember, every setback is setting you up for a comeback. I'll see you in the next video.